I'm Ben Gonzalez with the Texas Department of Insurance, and this is the Texas Insurance Podcast. On each episode, we look at an insurance topic, why it's important to you, and then offer some tips to help save you money or protect your property. Today, we're going to talk about a couple of auto-related issues that should have your attention if you're in the market for a used car or truck. We'll hear from the Better Business Bureau about what you should know to avoid scams when shopping for a used car online. We'll also cover the ins and outs of a car's VIN. That's the Vehicle Identification Number, and why the National Insurance Crime Bureau says it's so important to do a VINcheck before you buy any used car. Well, first up is Leah Napoliello with the Better Business Bureau of Houston. She says with more people searching for their next car on Craigslist or Facebook, you need to know how to spot the red flags online. You can't just fall for that pretty picture or a good backstory. Are people doing more online shopping for autos?
People are shopping online more and more. Even before the pandemic, that trend was happening. But with the whole pandemic starting last year, people want to stay at home more for their health and safety. So it can be easy, too, to go on a website and just search for various vehicles, and it can protect your health as well. So more and more people are doing that these days. It is important to always check the website very carefully before you go with that particular company, especially for a major purchase like a car. So check with the Better Business Bureau, see if we have any complaints or reviews on a particular site. You can even read through those complaints and reviews and see how the business has handled past customers. So it's always a good idea to do your research when you're buying a major purchase like a car, especially when it's online.
Yeah, the last car that we bought was actually pre-pandemic, but we did go through a service that was available through a bank, so that's a good way to do it, is to have some kind of relationship with the entity that you're working with. The Better Business Bureau recently put out a report about these virtual vehicle scams. What are you talking about there, and what kind of things are you seeing?
So we are seeing many instances of online vehicle scams happening across the country. And basically what we're seeing is people go on these online marketplaces. So that could be Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, eBay, and they're buying from an individual seller. So this seller, which is actually a scammer in some cases, is putting up a photo of a car and a description. They make it sound very enticing. They will offer usually an extremely low price for this particular make and model. So they really will entice buyers to come in and purchase from them. They will often say that they are trying to get this deal done very quickly because of some extenuating circumstances too. So once someone agrees to purchase the car, then they will send the money. Sometimes they're referred to an outside site in order to supposedly protect their money before the car arrives. So after they've paid, then they wait. They never get their car. So they reach out to the seller and ask what exactly is going on. And at that point, the seller is not responding to them, not following up at all, and they're totally gone. So then the unsuspecting victim is not able to get a car, and they're not able to get their money back either. It was all just a ruse. There was really no car available for them to purchase. It was just something that the scammer is using to try to get money out of people.
So that perfect car may not have ever existed.
Right, that perfect car in all likelihood did not exist at all.
Tell me again about you mentioned like a third party that they want to handle the money. How does that work into things?
So in some cases, the scammer will refer you over to another site, like another escrow site, where they will say that your money will be kept safe or secure or protected in this type of transaction. So you can keep it there, and then it will not be taken out of that site until you actually get your car. But in actuality, the scammer is also operating this other escrow site or protection site, and it's just another way for them to make you think that this transaction is secure when it really is not.
The illusion of security then. So how do you protect yourself if you're shopping for a car online?
It is important to recognize some of the red flags. So if you see an offer for a car that sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. If it's a very low price for this particular make and model that you're not seeing elsewhere, then that can be a red flag right there. Also, the seller will typically be very difficult to reach. If they actually are in your area and you want to reach out to them and actually see the car before you buy it, they will give an excuse, say they have COVID or some other issue as to why they're not able to meet with you and let you inspect the car ahead of time. They will also, you need to look out for certain scenarios that they will give you. So they may say that they're with the military, so they're having to go overseas really quickly. So that's why they're giving such a low price for the car and why they can't meet with you at the time.
The urgency of the thing.
Right. They're making it seem very urgent. Also, they may say something like that the car has sentimental value for them, that a spouse has passed away or a child owned the car, and they just want to get rid of this car as soon as they can. So they're just accepting the lowest price for it and wanting to get it done as soon as possible. So if they're saying those types of scenarios, those are the types of things the scammers say again and again. So if they're using that type of story on you, then know that that is going to be likely a scam as well.
A lot of the things you were saying sound very familiar to me. It's kind of the things we warn people about with insurance scams, like a bad health insurance. It's like, you have to do this today. No, you don't really have to do it today. And if it's, like you said, if it sounds so good, it's probably a red flag. Well, some of those are the kind of the big red flags, but are there any kind of more subtle signs that you might be able to pick on that should at least get your antenna up?
You should also do a research the actual ad itself and do a reverse image search and see if that photo is appearing on other online marketplaces across the country. So if you see it on other sites with different contact information, then that's a red flag right there that it's not really a legitimate offer. They also typically, the scammer will want you to pay using alternate methods of payment. So they may want you to use a gift card, go out and buy gift cards, and then after you put the money on the card, give them the numbers from that gift card, and then they just take the money right out of the card. They may also do wire transfers, that type of thing. And they're using these methods because they can largely be untraceable. The law enforcement has trouble trying to find where this money is going, and also the likelihood of you getting the money back is very low as well in that type of situation.
So worst case scenario, you think you've done your due diligence and everything, but it looks like you've gotten your money stolen. What do you do at that point?
If you have been the victim of this scam, it is important to notify law enforcement, so your local police, but also the FBI deals with online crimes as well as the Federal Trade Commission. So definitely let them know what you have experienced. Even if it may be difficult or impossible for you to actually get your money back in the situation, but at least the law enforcement can be looking into it and trying to put a stop to these scammers.
You can find more information about the latest scams at bbb.org. Well, one way to avoid scams is to be absolutely sure about a used car's history. But how do you do that? Well, Tully Lehman with the National Insurance Crime Bureau says you can start by getting a free VINcheck before you buy. Let's start with the basics. What is a VIN number?
Well, the VIN number is kind of the code that goes with everybody's car. It actually started back in the 1950s when they started needing some way to be able to register vehicles. And unfortunately, at that point in time, each manufacturer had a different way of identifying a car. All of the VINs were different from manufacturer to manufacturer. So it wasn't until the 1980s, and 1981, in fact, when they decided, you know what, we need to have a coherent code. So the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said, let's have a standardized code that's going to be able to identify all the different types of vehicles on the road.
And that wasn't until the 80s. That's amazing that it's that net new.
Not only the fact that it came in the 1980s, but one of the other problems that they had with VINs from the 50s until the 80s was the fact that usually they were put just on the engine block. And unfortunately, there was a time period there where a lot of people would, when an engine would fail, they would replace the engine. And of course, that fingerprint, if you will, for the vehicle kind of went with the engine. So all of a sudden now you have a different VIN for the car. So in 1981, when they standardized it made things much better.
Well, you mentioned that it's kind of a code, so that long string of numbers and letters is not all random, correct?
That is correct. Like I mentioned, it is kind of like a fingerprint for the vehicle. It identifies not only what type of car you have, but the country that it was manufactured in, who the manufacturer was, the body style, the trim for the vehicle, as well as engine type, and also has a serial number. So everything is identifying that specific vehicle. So there are no two identical VINs on the roadway.
So it is an identifier there. Why is that information useful for consumers and on the insurance side as well?
Well, for consumers, it's especially helpful for a lot of different things. For example, one, if you ever want to purchase a vehicle, let's say for a private party transfer, you can take that VIN and run it through various different services where it will identify what year the car was built. So, for example, someone may say, oh, yes, it's a 2015 Honda, fill-in model here, 2015 Honda. And in fact, when you run the VIN, it comes back and says, oh, it's a 2012 Honda. You may not be able to tell the difference in the model years because a vehicle manufacturers will have several years of a particular model style, but that VIN number will be able to tell you exactly when that vehicle was built. So you'll be able to take that information and use that and be able to save yourself some money. The other thing it's used for consumers is to be able to identify, was that vehicle in an accident at some point in time, or is it a salvage vehicle? That's something that's very important for you to know as a consumer, again, to save money and also for safety functions as well. For example, the NICB started something referred to as VINcheck after Hurricane Katrina. And one of the things it did was to identify all the vehicles that had been flood damaged in that hurricane. Because when a vehicle is subject to flooding conditions, a lot of sensors can fail, such things as the airbag sensors that are along the bumpers can fail, and if you're involved in an accident, it may not trigger the airbag. Also, so many electronics in cars today, there's all these different connectors, and all those can fail if a car has been subject to flooding. Not to mention the fact that you have mold and mildew that's potentially in the carpeting as well. So you can use it for identifying any sort of damage that may have happened to a vehicle. And then for an insurer can take that VIN and be able to run it, and then again also identify if the car has been in an accident and how to insure the vehicle, exactly what age it is. And in many states, they require that you have proof of insurance, and many insurers in many states are required to transmit that vehicle identification number with the proof of insurance to the State Department of Motor Vehicles.
So that may be one of the only ways to know, especially a car from another state, kind of the background on it and its history. You mentioned that the NICB has its own tool for doing a VINcheck. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. As I mentioned, that the VINcheck, which is what the product is called, was actually started back in 2005 to identify all those flood damaged vehicles. But later it was included unrecovered stolen vehicles as well as any vehicles that are listed as salvage. So it's a great place to start to be able to put in your vehicle identification number. You do need to have that. Type that into the system, and then it will come back with a report for you. And it's free of charge. You can get up to 5 uses in a 24-hour period.
That's excellent. If the case where your car is missing, where would you find a VIN that you could use? I know that I've seen some on the insurance ID cards for one place.
Right. So there's every sort of document that goes with your vehicle has your VIN number on it. It'll be on your insurance documents, it'll be on your title, it'll be on your registration. So the DMV will have a copy, your insurer will have a copy, and if you have that insurance card, you will have a copy of that as well. So
where do we find VINcheck? That's online, correct?
That is an online service, and if you go to nicb.org, and right from the homepage, you just scroll down to the big VINcheck section on the front page there, and click on VINcheck, and then you can go to the page, and it'll take you right to it, and you fill in all your information, and away you go.
That website again is nicb.org/VINcheck. Well, that's it for today. If you need help shopping for auto insurance or understanding what kind of coverage you're going to need for that new car, start on our website. It's tdi.texas.gov. You can also ask insurance questions by calling our helpline at 800-252-3439. And remember to subscribe to the Texas Insurance Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, so you don't miss out on this important information. We'll talk to you next time.